Welcome to the Real Estate Show. From buying to selling and everything in between. Rochester's home for everything real estate. And now, your hosts from the Anthony Butera team of Keller Williams Realty, Greater Rochester. It's Anthony Butera and Jason Mancuso.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 88 of the Real Estate Show. Got Anthony and Jason here. Welcome. Hello.
Week 7, day 4.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I count down every cup of coffee for the family. I count down. Week 7, day 4, cup number 2.
Wait a second. Is that monitor behind you new?
No, it's been there. It's my TV.
What you watching?
Oh, okay.
Just get the little, see how the.
Looks like you're watching Real Housewives of Hotlanta.
Oh, that's the good one.
It is the good one.
Yeah, it's the good one, man.
I got the business network. It's just background light, I guess. I never have volume up. Anywho.
Yeah. That's what we need is just more glare off your head.
So what's the new news is schools closed down for the year.
Yeah.
No,
For life.
for done with school.
Life, yeah.
Homeschooling forever.
Oh my! Well, they keep on saying they're going to reimagine education.
Yeah.
We can't have the kids at our house on Zoom pretending to learn.
No way.
I heard some grumblings about that yesterday, right?
Yeah,
A lot of people
that can't happen.
Yeah, I mean it's not going to happen. What's he thinking?
Well,
Your wives would be in padded rooms.
Right.
there's also, I mean, in reality, there's people that literally don't have computers.
Sure, yeah.
You know, right? Like, how they
Sure.
the kids that they don't have computers, you know, or internet, or
They would probably equip them with it, right? I mean, it's kind of like the work from home concept. It's cheaper to have them work from home. Don't have to supply, utilities, lunches, all that jazz. But I mean, you still have to supply lunches too. A lot of these kids, that's the meal they're getting.
Oh, yeah, my wife does a lot with like the parent-teacher committee and stuff, and she works with them. Yeah, they're driving lunches to kids.
Yep.
Because they need them, you know?
Yeah, and I think people, it's tough. I'm not going to get political because I'm not heavy one way or the other, but like I think people lose sight of what really goes on everywhere, right? And sometimes they're just so stuck in the suburban way of life. You forget about what some of the inner city districts have to deal with and go through. I know a lot of people that teach in the city, and it's torture to see what these kids' lives are a lot of times. So there's no easy solution. And could you imagine, like, why on earth does anyone ever want to be a politician, man? Get out of here.
Does not pay enough.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
No. I mean, even if there's money at the end of it and, like,
I've just, from really the start, aside from the stock market ticker I got in the background, I've isolated myself from the news. It's just, at the end of the day, nobody knows anything right now, right? Even 60 days into this thing or whatever we are. I mean, everybody's just, playing guessing games when you hear news stories come out. So it's just like, let's just be safe and smart, and we'll all get through this.
So
I'm over it.
We are over it? Okay. Yeah. I'll tell Cuomo, open it up.
Yeah.
We're over it.
I mean, whatever. It's just like, I'm not going to be the guy that's like, hey, open everything up, right now, today, all at once. But let's be smart about it, and I'm sure we'll all get by. So.
Well, that's just it. If we could count on common sense,
right,
we could go back, right? I mean, if we could count on common sense, we didn't have to do a pause or quarantine. It's just
that's a good point, because you can't rely on that, right? Because we are the way we are, and we are where we are now, I guess, right? So I don't know.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Kind of a similar theme to what we've been talking about for weeks now, of just like, go about the business in our world safely, and it can still be effective, and we can still do things at a high level. I mean, that's what's happening at this point. We've talked about it in recent weeks where, the kind of ripping the Band-Aid off, so to speak, of actually doing a high level of business compared to, the first week or two of the pause taking effect, and, just being real sensitive about what's going on because, even more so at that point, we didn't know what was going on. We didn't know if this was a friggin' flesh-eating disease that's just going to consume the whole county, or, it ends up being what it is so far. So, I mean, it's just, again, the common sense aspect. And, look at, we're not, I'm going to discredit Anthony and I, we're not rocket scientists here. I mean, we're applying common sense to the way to do business, and we're having success with it, and we're putting our clients and people, that put their trust in us, in a position to be successful. So, I mean, that theme continues, and, I'm surprised by it so far.
A lot that plays into it too was like early on, let's go back a month and a half. It was kind of like everybody was looking at everybody in our industry as like, well, what are you going to do? Well, what are you going to do? And what are you going to, like, we have been, we've adapted to the changes and the guidelines, but I think that our success in April, which was a huge success based on what we anticipated, we put 32 homes under contract. We sold a house a day without physically going into any. It's pretty substantial. But I think the key was just focusing on the guidelines and drowning out the noise. So many agents are just, they're so consumed and caught up in what everybody else is doing. And I'm going to rat this person out. And I know that this person is doing this. And like they got so caught up in it that it was debilitating to their own business. They got stuck in neutral.
I shut the Facebook, message boards down that realtors are, there's a few groups that we can be a part of, and they get, pretty populated and busy. And, I realized quickly, it's like, I'm not looking at this. If there's it's easy enough to search for, if you have a specific question, then they're great resources to accomplish, kind of getting things answered when you need it, specific instances. But it just turned into reality TV of,
oh my God.
Like, it was like the Real World Road Rules, flashback.
Yeah. You give real estate agents a private Facebook page that are all working in the same community. It would be like, it'd be equivalent to like handing out White Claw on teen night at the club.
Now, how are we going to close down schools and still accomplish that, right?
That's right. No, we need schools. We need, your kids need to know the other kids that don't like them. And, how are you going to talk about the other parents if there's no school?
Right.
So let's see. We got do you want to go through, we have the reopening process starting on the 15th. And from what I know, or from the information I have now, Monroe County, there's like 7 things that you need to hit in each region to be able to even start reopening. There are things like hospitals can only be at 70% capacity, just in case type of thing. Our infection rate has to be below one person infecting one person. Like we're at 0.9, 0.8 right now. And if you go to 1.1, then that's officially a pandemic. So we hit that too. The only ones that we're not hitting in Rochester or in Monroe County area is we need more people tested. They want a certain amount tested per 100,000 people. And we're not there yet. But obviously, working to get there.
And so is this for phase 1 to even start, or is this for phase 1 to get to phase 2? Okay.
Phase 1 to even start.
We got 8 days to meet this number?
Yeah. So we need, I'm not 100% sure of what the number is, but we need a certain amount of people getting tested daily. So, if it's 30,000 or something, or 3,000, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then we also need these things called tracers, where they trace people that have coronavirus and tell people to quarantine based on that. So we don't have those yet.
So, back to my point, it's like, everybody's got this May 15th date in their head. What I'm hearing from you is that that's not even guaranteed, county by county or region by region.
Yeah, like New York City is not doing it. New York
they're not
May 15th. Erie County's not going to be May 15th. They're the ones that got the hardest.
So, I mean, applied to our world, real estate has been targeted for phase 2 of, whatever that looks like. We're telling our people, you're definitely at home for the whole month of May.
Yeah.
This thing probably stretches well into June, to where, the concept of normal life, I guess that's the topic, right? Like, at what point do we get into normal life? Meaning, for our world, like, come and go to the office, come and go, showing houses with your clients, going on listing appointments with clients or prospects, in person. I don't really see that happening in the, for most of the month of June at best as well. So, look, I mean, like we've been talking the last few episodes, or since this started, of this virtual way of doing, business and life at this point. A lot of those aspects are going to hold true. I mean, frankly, hopefully for the long run. We've touched on it before, the efficiency that can be achieved with just, virtual showings being available for buyers to kind of to look at first before they have to step foot into a house, or spend a full Saturday afternoon looking at 7 different houses, when they could have determined, within maybe half an hour's time, that they're really only interested in 2 of them. I think we're just stepping into a new, this technological revolution of sorts has been heightened because of we've been forced to. So I don't know.
It took something like this to happen to force us to technologically advance years in the matter of a month, right? And it took something like this to happen to, a society to change the way that they conduct, like in our world, our business, but in everyone's world, their way of life. I mean, handshaking is going to be probably pretty close to obsolete, right? I mean, washing hands is going to be done differently. Hand sanitizer is going to be everywhere. People are going to be more cautious because it takes something like this. It takes a pandemic to really get people to change their ways. It plays back into the common sense thing, right? I mean, washing your hands was always common sense, but we didn't really know why until now.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, so, like, silver lining, right? I mean, that's to me, the only thing you can try to do each day in and day out is try to, find the optimistic viewpoint of things versus just dwelling on the negative, because the reality is this is a totally negative situation, across the board, right? Like, this isn't really good for anybody. But if you can find a way to continue to operate, your life, your business, your family, etc., and find the good times and the bad, then I think that's the goal in any, current situation. So I just hope that's happening at a high level for other people as well. I mean, transitioning into, like, okay, it's May 7th right now. We're well into the quote unquote spring market that, seasonality takes with the Rochester area. This is it. I mean, we're talking, this is going to continue into the summer market. We just laid out where pretty much, assume similar type of conditions for all of June. So, June leads to July 4th, right? And then you're out. Yeah, obviously, you can make the debate as to whether June is summer or spring market, but we're in it. This is it. This. I guess my point would be, if anything housing related is on your plate for 2020, and you want to capitalize on, market conditions, the time is now. I mean, rightfully so. I think most people took a step back when this first happened in the middle of March, but we were quick to realize, the opportunity in the middle of a crisis, and there's a lot of sellers that we're working with that are taking advantage of it. For buyers, same conversation we've been having for 3 years of this show now, or however long it's been. It's competitive out there, but it's not impossible. We can put you in a position to get the home that makes sense for you and that you want. And the same principles apply. There's multiple offers, and you gotta be ready to be competitive, but you also can't do anything that doesn't make sense. And, nothing's really changed on our end with the advice that we're giving other than, how to adapt to the restrictions and the times that we're in. So it's crazy to think about, but that's where we're at right now. I mean, this is the spring market. May 7th, we're taking this, and we're well in it. And usually it should be our, May is typically April or May is typically our busiest months of the year. And luckily for April, we didn't see. We're not crying at the numbers that are coming in on our business end of things, but there's a hit to the overall market. What's the stats, Anthony? Listings were down like 60%.
Yeah, 62% listings down. And it was funny. I was on a Zoom meeting a little while ago with other rainmakers of teams, and one of them made a great point. It was like, yeah, we're down 62% in new listings during a pandemic, but compared to the mindset of going into it, we're up 38%, right? I mean, it's just it's the way you look at it, because we didn't anticipate that we would even be able to do any business. So the fact that we were able to do a good amount of business was huge. And I think a lot of agents convinced themselves that it just wasn't practical because they refused to adjust and adapt to the new world, at least temporary world. They're going to feel it. And what's dangerous is, for us, we're kind of blessed in that we don't have a ton of seasonality, right? We have some months that are, they're going to be our biggest months, and some where it kind of levels out. But, April and May's business, it typically leads to the most fruitful months of what would be like July, August, early September income, right? Because if we sell a house today, we're 2 to 2.5 months away from seeing a commission check. So it's always delayed. Today's activities don't start paying off for another, 60 to 90 days. So a lot of agents are going to be hurting in those months when you could have like July, August, September being 40% of your income for the year in a 3-month span because of the seasonality of your business. And, it's going to be scary for some.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, is back to the adapting to what's around you. I mean, God, I'll never forget. It was actually, I just looked at it. I'm pretty sure this was the day, Friday, March 13th. Naturally, Friday the 13th was the day that Cuomo announced shut her down, right? And that weekend, it felt like, a crisis mode across the board. Like, it worked around the clock, just figuring out where we stand, what's going on. I mean, I had to tell my wife, like, look, I'm in the basement all weekend. I'm sorry, but we got to figure stuff out. It was like panic mode, just assuming like, all right, yeah, we're not going to be, because at that point we didn't know, are you not even allowed to conduct a real estate transaction? Is that going to be banned? And then, the start of the week after, it was deemed that, look, you can still do business. You just can't do business in person. So it was kind of like the sigh of relief at that point on our end, just to, focus on being able to help those that need to be helped. And again, let's not forget, I've said it before, but, the industry that we're in, we're providing a basic human need, shelter. You have to have a roof over your head, if you're fortunate enough to be able to afford that, right? In some capacity. So, I mean, we're dealing with needs of, and that's why it's an essential business of, one of the facets of it. So, I mean, we had to then quickly adapt to all right, how can we, us, we're always going to be community driven. So it was like, all right, our focus was almost, it seemed like half that of how can we find ways to support the community, and then half, how can we figure out to help those that are in need to actually do something real estate related during this time. And assuming, at that point, we didn't know, is it going to be 2 weeks? We kind of assumed it was at least going to be a month. and operate with what we can from there. And then it kind of, 2-3 weeks later, we kind of figured out like, all right, this is how it's done. This can be done pretty effectively. And, we're not really putting anybody out there to where, we're putting them in a position like we feel like we can't sleep at night because, oh my God, they bought a house during COVID and, this is going to be a nightmare and it's a total screw job. So, once that was the case and more people started, the consumers started to loosen up around it, now again, back to that spring market conversation, we're in it.
Yeah.
And if you're fortunate enough to not be in a position where, you're experiencing job loss or God forbid any health repercussions from the crisis, then, if you had any goals for 2020 around housing, then, there's still opportunity out there.
What's crazy is going to be whether people are already looking back at April and already going into May. For the first time ever, I saw, and it's been high the last few years because we've been in a seller's market and low inventory, but the stat for April that blew me away was list price to sales price was just shy of 101%. So on average, every listing got at or above list price, most of them above list price. And like, to look back at this, you're going to be like, man, we should have sold our house in the middle of a pandemic. Of course, we don't want you to, if you're worried about the safety of it, but we adapted. Yeah. We adapted to how we had to conduct business, and we were blessed with a lot of vacant listings, so we were able to do it even safer because there wasn't somebody in a home and then somebody back in the home within 20 minutes after they went through it. But we did all of this without allowing physical showings until after an accepted offer, which is crazy, right? There was 32 transactions where they didn't get to see the house until they had an accepted offer on it.
Right. That's 32 right? That end up sticking after they do see the house.
Yeah.
I mean, there certainly was fallout. That's that's kind of the tricky part of navigating this is, okay, a buyer gets in the house after they see it or after they make their offer and it's accepted within 24 hours. There's been deals that have died, as a result of the buyer just saying, yeah, sorry guys, no thanks.
Yeah.
We know that's going to be a symptom of what we're doing, but at the end of the day, we're not losing much time in it. And for the seller's sake, luckily the market conditions are what they are, to where you're really not losing too much, if at all. And we go from there. So yeah,
I think what's going to be cool is, so now that we've had to adapt to this and we see how much we could accomplish from not having to leave our home office, it's going to change the way everyone's going to conduct business moving forward. And I talked about it on one of my calls because my new world is living on Zoom calls like this one. But one of my calls yesterday, it kind of clicked in that you're going to have some agents, either the senior agents or the senior mindset agents of, you need to get in front of your clients more and you need to be with them physically every step of the way. Like those agents, if they don't adapt, they're going to die in this business. And I related it to the Blockbuster Netflix, right? Blockbuster never adjusted because they convinced themselves that the consumers would never go to a streaming site because they loved the experience of going to a brick and mortar location to try and fight for the new movie that was out. It was bonkers, and they went all in with that, and they quickly learned that they were shutting store after store after store down, and Netflix gobbled it up, and that's our new way of living, right?
But there might be, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say there might be a new way of getting videos because I have a family video in Chilai that also sells CBD products.
Oh, God!
Pair up your movie with your pot product, right? Now it's a service.
Boom market.
Thank God for Chilai, the trendsetter.
Yeah.
But those agents that don't adapt, and they convince themselves that their relationship is only strong because of their physical hand holding, you're going to be left in the dark, because I'm telling you that my demographics, my friends, the people I socialize with, if we don't have to leave the house and can still accomplish the same things and more virtually, it's great. And as a seller, you're telling me that we can sell the house with only a few showings as opposed to 30 physical showings by doing a virtual walkthrough and limiting the amount of times I have to prepare my house for strangers to trample through. Like, come on, we cannot convince ourselves that that's the experience that people want, because it's not.
Well, and I think a lot of what you just said relates to, kind of a, small or medium-sized market like Rochester and other areas in the country around that. I mean, think of these big cities, or other more vibrant markets where, they've been doing this virtual concept for a long time now. I mean, at the end of the day, put yourself in Manhattan. Like, if you can avoid having to, get to the other side of town to meet somebody physically, you're going to do that. And that's why, I've always said, like Quicken Loans, for example, on the mortgage side of the business has never really been popular in Rochester, just because of that aspect where they don't have a presence here. They don't have a physical presence here, and you're not able to go and submit your application in person with somebody and look them in the face type of thing. It's a similar type of thing with what we're talking about, in that, we're just so used to physical meetings because it's so easy to get from one place to another in our marketplace. These types of concepts have been utilized at a high level in other areas for as long as the technology has been around. I mean, we also deal with, or we've been, kind of in tune to, relocation aspects where, there's not a lot of people moving into Rochester. In other markets, realtors have been operating virtually a long time because, if they're in South Florida and they're buyers in whatever, Minnesota or Rochester, it's tough to hop on a plane and get somewhere. So you show them the house virtually and put them in a position to make a decision that they're protected with. So
and the fear of not capturing that client for life, I mean, it has to go away. It has to become obsolete, because they're not going to remember your handshake. They're going to remember the experience.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they're not going to remember
the consumer experience.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, AnthonyButerraTeam.com. We'll try to keep you updated with everything that's been going on. You can subscribe to the Real Estate Show there, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Sweet.
Thanks for listening to The Real Estate Show. Find us on Facebook, iTunes, Stitcher, and YouTube. If you're looking to sell or buy, talk to the Anthony Butera team of Keller Williams Realty, Greater Rochester. Visit AnthonyButerraTeam.com.